welcome back. It is a thirsty Thursday on Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. Yes, I'm still thirsty. Much like you, you're probably thirsting to know what's happening with all the news of the day. And one of the biggest things happening in our economy is the emergence and exponential growth of the gig economy. The gig economy are all these people, Uber drivers, DoorDash people who are getting involved with this connectivity and peer-to-peer. A lot of individuals out there in one-man and two-man businesses. To break it all down and help us out understand what's happening with the gig economy is Ryan Vett. Ryan, thank you for joining us on Liquid Lunch.
Thank you for having me.
So Ryan is a Forbes contributor. He's also the author of Cracking the Millennial Code. You have not just been sitting on the sidelines reading and writing about this stuff. You actually threw yourself in there. You did some gig jobs like driving Ubers and doing DoorDash type deliveries. What did you find in your investigative work?
Yeah, so one of my goals was to really understand the gig economy as a whole. So I started on Upwork as a contractor with marketing consulting, which was something I had done outside of the gig economy, but brought that in to really understand what are people looking for, how are they paying, what does the communication look like, is there quality? So I started investigating that back in 2017 before it really became a hot button issue. And then over the last year and a half, I've spent over $100,000 on the gig economy personally and through businesses trying to develop a gig economy platform in healthcare. So I've not only worked the gig economy, I have spent money on the gig economy in ways like Uber and DoorDash, but also in ways like Upwork, TopDold, development, things like that. And then also now I'm building a gig economy platform. So I've seen it from all sides, and we're starting to see a lot of legislation for the first time, starting with California earlier in September, now all the way moving to New York in Albany, lawmakers starting to whisper about what regulating the gig economy is going to look like.
Hey, Ryan, we just had on Seth Denson. He was talking about healthcare, and he was talking about how small businesses, 1 to 5 employees, are getting crushed on healthcare because you need in some states 50 or 100 employees to qualify for a group rate. What can be done? Should these people be classified as employees and be able to band together in a group and get a better rate for themselves?
That's the big question that so many people are asking. Companies like Catch Benefits have tried to rally around the idea of saying, hey, you've got thousands of drivers in a given market. What if they all went in and pooled together to be able to get access to some benefits? In California with AB5, we saw the government trying to take a stand and saying, hey, we're going to regulate this, saying that these independent drivers are, in fact, not independent, but they need to be employees. And so we're going to see on January 1st how that impacts California, both for potentially the good and the bad, depending on what you're looking for and what they're trying to achieve. But there definitely is a need for these individuals that have, are a sole proprietor or solopreneur, as people are calling it these days, or people that are working a gig job and do need health benefits. There needs to be a solution for those people.
So I have been looking at this for a while. I'm disgusted with the way healthcare is administered to small businesses. 75% of the people in America are employed by small businesses, but they take the brunt of it. I've actually been thinking about, trying to cast myself as a modern day Jimmy Hoffa and starting the first ever gig union. What do you think about that, and can you help?
That would be interesting. I've seen people try to do that. Again, I mentioned Catch Benefits a minute ago. That's one of the companies I'm most familiar with. I know there are several trying to, I wouldn't quite say unionize, but really trying to pool together these individuals to reach a common goal and be able to share some of that burden and that heavy lifting of the expense. I think it's important. I think there needs to be disruption and innovation because this is a new classification of employee or contractor than we've seen before. It's not the independent contractor, but it's not the employee.
Ryan, we've heard a lot about these so-called gig workers, and the most common that I encounter on a daily basis are Uber and Lyft drivers who complain that in some instances they're not getting paid minimum wage and they're not getting sufficient health benefits. There are huge movements in both California and New York to make some sort of provision to get these gig workers at least minimum wage and health care benefits. What are the pitfalls of that, or is that something that we're just going to have to pursue eventually? I mean, how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting proposition because if you look at the ads of these companies like Uber and Lyft, who are obviously the target of most of this legislation because they're the biggest players and the ones that most consumers understand, you see them saying, hey, you can earn $35 an hour, you can earn $40 an hour. And while that might be the revenue that you're bringing in, by the time you pay for gas and expenses and whatever else you might have to pay for, you're making a fraction, in some cases, not minimum wage. And so as we've seen government in California, now New York, even New Jersey, earlier in November, they stepped in and tried to say, hey, it's important to pay them fair wage. And I fully agree. I think everybody would agree, no matter what side of the argument you're on, paying people fairly is important. I think what needs to be done is a better understanding for marketing these positions. You're not really going to make all the money that they say you're going to make. You're taking home a fraction of that because of the cost. So I think there just needs to be more transparency in trying to get people to work the gig economy, saying, hey, here's the benefits. You get to work when you want, but here's some of the consequences and downsides. You're going to have to do your own expenses for mileage and gas, and you're going to have to put, 10,000 extra miles on your car a year. And so I think some of those conversations need to be had to allow that fair pay, and then grouping together benefits, like we were just talking about, something that allows people access to what they would have if they were to go to work for one of the bigger corporations.
All right, well, very good. That's Ryan Vett. He knows where the rubber meets the road on this stuff. He doesn't just write about it. He goes out there and does it. He's been part of the gig economy. He writes for Forbes. And it's an emerging place, and it's a new type of worker out there. And Ryan, thanks for joining us. We're going to have you back often to keep our audience abreast. Frankie,
thanks for having me.
This gig economy is really a big growing concern in this country.
Well, it's a concern, but also an opportunity. It's created a lot of flexible job opportunities for people that were looking for them.
Can you see me in a role like Hoffa, like Al Pacino?
I just hope it ends better for you than it did for Jimmy.
Yeah, hopefully I'm not going to get shot in the entrance foyer of a Detroit home.
Possibly.
But
Possibly.
allegedly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back after this. Like I said, it's cold here in New York, but Derek and Patrice are hitting the streets, talking to regular New York people and tourists about what's happening in the world. Quick break. Right back with the man on the street right after this.